Coming up on this episode of FAS TV. With a farm-to-fork focus, we meet the Hebridean sheep breeder, visit Scotland's only farm-to-fork venison farm, and meet the French chef with a passion for Scottish produce. On the edge of the Ochil Hills in Kinrossshire, Jack Cuthbert and his wife Mona farm Ardagh Hebridean sheep. The Ardagh Hebridean sheep flock was established in 2011, primarily kept for producing breeding stock, selling wool and producing high quality, high welfare, delicious meat.
The Hebridean is a hardy, economical black sheep. It's obviously been in this country since the Vikings, really. I suppose they probably dropped them on islands as food stores. For our point of view, obviously we're not full-time farmers, so the ability for something to thrive without too much maintenance, obviously all animals need looked after and looked at, but the ability to do that. The taste, certainly as a child, I remember fondly the good meals, and that sort of qualities sort of come through, and I think that's one of our sort of ability to sell direct to customers. Once they've had it once, they come back again. This year we're probably lambing around the 300 on odd mark. We do about half pure, and we cross some with Southdown, Blueface Leicester, Dutch Spotted and Texel and Southdown. Some of those are for consumption, so the Southdown makes a nice lamb for eating. The Blueface Leicester is for sort of producing a hardy, economical mule type sheep, and various other ones for eating, but primarily probably through the commercial ring rather than sort of direct to customer.
Jack and Mona have a range of specialty outlets for their Hebridean sheep, both as breeding stock and as an artisan food product.
We sell breeding stock through the year. Quite often, obviously, people will get in touch with us through our sort of social media sites. Other times, obviously, there's various sales for rare breed sheep through the years. You have to travel a wee bit for them, so Scotland, Lanark, and then there's sort of Carlisle and York and others further south. We sell sort of our finished product direct to customers in terms of either in carcass form or butchered up, nicely vac packed. We're lucky enough to have local abattoir facilities for that. We try and use nose to tail, so everything from the offal, we take the tongues as well for our chefs and try and make the most. We also use the horns and the sheepskin as well, so for us, you're taking a life, so it's, make the most of it. The Hebridean itself, when we get it in butchered form, the meat's a lot darker than your conventional lamb. Obviously it's a little bit more as pure being a hogget. In terms of fat, there's this nice cover on the outside, it marbles nicely as well, and the taste is slightly gamey, but with a sort of sweetness to it, a sort of caramelised taste. The hogget itself, you can cook just like lamb. Probably my favourite dish is probably the poor man's thing. I actually like belly. I put it on a rack, put it in the oven for 2-3 hours on a low heat, and then crank it right up then and crackle it, and it's a bit like pulled pork or kind of similar, so quite nice and a bit of pitta and freshness, although you can't beat a leg.
Despite having a unique product, there are challenges to getting produce processed in Scotland ready for sale to the end consumer.
I think it's trying to obviously get your product to somebody at the time that they want it, and obviously with abattoirs being a bit disparate through the country, we are very lucky. We have Bob and Jane Apprentice at Downfield, and they're very good. We have various chefs who are looking for different things, so things like tongues or other bits of offal, we're able to get that back from them. Obviously sheepskins we use, and horns as well, so it's a good two-way sort of street. Bob and Jane were very accommodating when we were asking for various things. I think the flexibility that they offer is really good for us, and it allows us to sort of have our product in the right place at the right time. In terms of our meat product, we're trying to do it 365. We produce lamb, which obviously comes at the end of the year. We have hogget, which is sort of 1 year to 2 year old, and then we have mutton thereafter, and we do some cross stuff. So within all those sort of products that we produce most of the year, we're able to put something out seasonally, because they're obviously already at different times of the year. Most weeks we'll be taking something up to the abattoir when it's fit, so it's all about condition and quality really. Obviously you've got the same overheads, your killing costs etc. as your commercial farmer with a sort of 40 kilogram lamb, but the reality is you've got 16 to 18 kilos to work with. So, you know, to get yourself in terms of that same reward value, you have to sort of go direct to customer and you know, cut out the middleman for that, and that works for us. In terms of traction in the marketplace, if you're out there on a weekly basis, you've got chefs putting up images of what they've cooked that week, or private customers as well, you know, with lots of nice foodies that probably could be on the MasterChef. So it's always a joy to see your product being treated well, and that then obviously gains other custom.
Digital marketing is an excellent way to promote your farm or croft produce. Jack and Mona have used social media to build their customer base beyond their immediate local area.
Started off finding direct customers through social media and word of mouth to an extent as well. So I think the whether you like technology or not, it's there to be used to your advantage. Just going direct to chefs as well. You know, if you think you've got a good product and you think that actually what they are doing, because obviously social media you can see what they're producing, might suit them, or if they're local to you, then you know, go and knock the door and say hello and see, you know, have an idea of what your product's worth. But that's probably where to start.
A few years ago, a mutual friend put them in touch with Fred Birkmiller to bring high-quality Hebridean lamb to Edinburgh diners.
Fred Birkmiller is chef patron at the L'escargot Bleu in Boulogne in Edinburgh. We had a mutual friend that was supplying some Hebridean. Fred had liked that. They only had a small amount, so we then took that on, and we've been with Fred for a number of years now. So hugs and kisses, and a wee bit of negotiation over a bit of vino is always good. In terms of the relationship working, we make Fred aware when we've got product available. When we're doing runs through to Edinburgh, he'll come to us, and you know, depending on what he's got on his menu, he'll order either hogget or mutton. I think you kind of look at yourself sometimes and you think you're mad, you're sort of working full time and being on the farm, but I don't think you would change it. You know, it's great being out in the outdoors. It's a great way to bring up kids. It's a great way to meet people, and it's always nice. You know, you produce a product that you've sort of worked on for a year, and people are appreciative and enjoying that. So I think that, you know, it's a combination of factors that kind of keeps you going. The reality at the end of the day is, you know, you can enjoy yourself. You know, lovely sheep on the out there. You're seeing the hills, the birds singing, and good way to live.
In the heart of Fife, near Cooper, lies Downfield Farm, a 500-acre organic livestock farm with cattle, sheep and farmed deer. Downfield Farm has an on-site abattoir processing sheep, goats and farmed deer for farmers and crofters across Scotland. Downfield is Scotland's only field-to-fork venison farm, handling and meat processing facility.
We originally started the abattoir when we looked to diversify from fattening cattle into finishing deer, and realised there wasn't an abattoir facility in Scotland. The nearest one was in North Yorkshire, so to facilitate farming deer and finishing deer and supplying them, we had to set up the abattoir. We started off with the farm deer, but then developed that in 2 or 3 months that we added in the ability to slaughter sheep as well, and then we've added in the ability to do goats. We also have a butchery business in series, and we supply our own lamb, which we slaughter here. We also supply it with the offal from the deer, and we collect blood, which allows us to make our own haggis at the shop and our own venison black pudding.
As an abattoir and meat processing facility, hygiene, animal welfare, traceability and quality assurance is paramount.
Most farmers come on a Monday morning to drop off their sheep. They'll come with their sheep fully tagged with their paperwork. We'll inspect them as they drop them off. We're inspecting the sheep to make sure they're clean and dry and they're not lame. There's no sign of any illness. The sheep are then in the lairage, which are straw-bedded pens. We'll mark the sheep if we need to distinguish them from another customer's sheep. They'll then be logged on the board as to when they've arrived and whose sheep they are and how many there are. If they come on a Monday morning, they are then inspected by the FSS official veterinarian about lunchtime, and we start slaughter on the Monday afternoon. The sheep are then moved through the lairage into the killing hall, where there's a stunning crate and they're captive bolt stunned. The stunning crate is where the sheep are restrained before they're stunned, and then they're rolled out into the killing hall, where they're immediately bled. Once it's bled, it's then skinned and eviscerated. It's then moved along, weighed and tagged, ready for inspection, correlated with its offal, and moved into the chill. After all the animals are slaughtered and everything's ready for inspection, the FSS then send in a meat hygiene inspector to come in and check the carcasses for any disease, which is mainly found in the offal, things like liver fluke, lungworm, pneumonia, and everything is fine. Then they stamp the carcasses. Once the carcasses are stamped, they're then ready for the butcher. Farmers bringing in their animals need to make sure that they're all clean and dry. Depending on the weather that we've had, they might be muddy. They therefore should be clipped to reduce any contamination of the carcass, and also make sure that no sheep are lame. All our business tends to come word of mouth, and there's a lot of repeat business from customers coming annually, weekly or monthly. And the waiting list can be 6 months. In fact, at this time of year, sometimes it's been fully booked for a year. We did the wild deer for a year or two, but it didn't really work out because it was challenging to get paid from them. But we had the facility, then it was an extra chill, and to develop the private butchery business, it allowed us then to bring in carcasses from another abattoir, such as beef and pigs. This has now meant that we can now offer a full contract business for all species of animals, whether they be farm deer, wild deer, sheep, goats, pigs and cattle. Our biggest challenge is really staff and getting the skilled staff that we need. When we were expanding recently, then it was very hard to get a butcher. At the moment, my husband Bob and Martine, who's the other slaughter woman, they're working in the abattoir, and it's very hard to get a replacement for Bob within the abattoir.
In recent years, the closure of small to medium-sized abattoirs and meat processing facilities has had an impact on farmers and crofters living in remote rural areas.
The challenges for the local food supply chain is the investment that's required to set up and maintain the processing facility like what we have here. But a lot of areas of Scotland are travelling to here because they don't have such a facility near them. Customers will travel here from all over Scotland. In the north, we have customers from Elgin. In the west, they come from Mull. They come from the borders. They come from Ayrshire. So really all over.
If you'd like to find out more, visit downfieldfarm.com. Fred Birkmiller is the chef-owner of L'escargot Bleu restaurant on Broughton Street in Edinburgh. L'escargot Bleu is an award-winning bistro proud to use fresh Scottish produce with a French twist. Fred has long been a champion of sourcing the very best local produce direct from local farmers.
We've built our sourcing policies over the last 12 years to commit and buy direct from within Scotland, from producers or growers direct. Buying food is very easy, but buying good food is extremely hard. Good food is knowing exactly what's gone into that ingredient. I have a really good idea on how that ingredient should be, a beef or a veal or anything, on 2 legs or 4 legs, needing to know how they've been looked after, treated, more importantly, what they've been fed with. To me, good food is something that's been reared or grown or raised in a great environment, and that's been fed properly, and that's taken time to grow properly, and then obviously that's been treated with respect. I buy all over Scotland. I'm going to try and stay in what we buy regularly, veals, beef from East Lothian, Pilham Farm. It's just a strong relation with the producer, but the end product is just phenomenal. Try and bear in mind, if you buy a veal fillet or a rack of veal or a shoulder, and then you cook that shoulder, the main criteria that comes to us is flavor, the texture of the meat, and the end result. You know that animal has been reared on grass, on good grass, and nothing else. And it's not been pushed to actually put on weight until maturity. I've got reason to believe that that animal will reach its right weight to be slaughtered, okay, at its own pace. Pastured feeding for me is a no-brainer. It's so simple to understand. Mother Nature. Ask a 4-year-old kid what cows eat, and then you will get the answer. It's a no-brainer. It's just a cycle. The cows eat grass. A lamb eats grass. Anything eats grass. Why, as a human being, do we feel we need to interact or interfere and go against what Mother Nature has given us? The use of native breeds, of course, because then there is history, and history is great. You know, if we talk Shetland beef, Shetland Kai, as they call it, you know, native beef, reared in the Shetland by any weather, eating grass in Shetland. The characteristic and the end product makes it different than, you know, an Angus or Shorthorn or whatever. As a consumer, of course, the beauty of it is you get to taste and try all sorts of beef, and that's good for the taste buds. What's good for the taste bud is good for the brain.
Fred is proud to buy the best possible produce direct from Scottish farms. This commitment has both personal and professional benefits.
First thing it does to me, puts a smile on my face. What it does to my business is show commitment, integrity, and helps that duty of delivering the best we can buy around, which therefore puts a smile on my customer's face. My customers are, of course, very interested in provenance and what comes into their plates, and they love it. They obviously enjoy the commitment that we give to actually deliver the best we can buy and cook. My one big wish for the industry is to call everybody involved in the food business, whether it be a cafe or restaurants, generally all across Scotland, to reinforce their buying policies and keep that local economy going and keep those producers working, make them work hard. The best award running a business is that handshake and a big smile and the cuddle we get from our customers and the repeat business.
Selling farm produce directly to award-winning restaurants may feel like an intimidating prospect for many farmers, but the majority of chefs, like Fred, are extremely approachable.
Yes, we have farmers coming to us, you know, on a regular basis. We feel we're very approachable. You know, I am the chef, the buyer, the payer. So I'm here, yes, of course, very approachable. A lot of people come to us. I think our reputation has, you know, gone in front of us, I should say. Yes, we do. We do have people coming to us, understanding or having heard of how we do purchase. You know, recently, or in the last few months, we've been approached by someone doing grass-fed chicken and grass-fed pigs. You know, that's a step forward. You know, so yes, we do get some inquiries. Yeah. Buying this way, we feel might look a bit expensive, or a bit more expensive than the normal ways. But there's one thing to bear in mind: you're paying for what you're getting, and you're not losing anything. You know, very often I come back to the typical pork chop that you could buy from your supermarket up the road. You know, once that pork chop's cooked, you've got about a quarter of a kilo of water at the bottom of your pan. Buying good, you could cook a pork chop in 200 grams and you will eat 200 grams. The sourcing policies I have connects the farmers to the customers, you know, with me being in the middle. Customers are connected to the Scottish Larder again. I'm finding producers, you know, very engaging and moving on and coming up with new ideas. You know, there is definitely something going around, is the willingness to do well and to deliver a fabulous product. I also feel mainly that producers are going, you know, a long way to achieve a great product, putting effort into it in different ways of feeding their animals and looking after them, let them running free and so on. So there is a concern for delivering a first-class Scottish product. Customers are really supportive, interested. They love to know. They're asking a lot by curiosity as well, because some of them are farmers, some of them are living in the countryside, so they like to know what's happening around. But let's not, we don't communicate a lot into it. We did, you know. I think nowadays it's an ongoing thing. People know our buying policies at L'escargot Bleu. I guess the end product speaks to them in forms of hitting their taste buds and then hit the brain. And that's a no-brainer. We don't need to talk about it. I love to buy from different producers. There's many reasons for that. Different product, different producers, different product. Each time, you know, keep the economy going, you know, give money around to a lot of different people. The trade we're in as well, we want to fight routine. Routine is not good for us. Routine is the enemy of many business, especially restaurants, you know, so go against routine, and we want to buy and diversify on any product that comes in. The way we work as well, we can cook anything. You know, we can cook anything and everything, you know. There is nothing that we cannot buy, you know. I remember, just a sample as we speak, you know, managing to buy duck blood a few years back from a producer. You know, duck blood was a waste to him, and it was gold to me, because then we could make fresh black pudding using real blood. And that was the perfect exchange, you know, for both of us.
L'escargot Bleu menus are diverse and continually evolving, but there's one ingredient which is proving difficult to get.
There's one thing missing for me, but, you know, which is not a lot. Over the time, if I look over 12 years ago, 15 years ago, we used to buy a lot of meat from France, sausages, you know, and so on. There is one product that we do keep buying, and that's annoying, because I'm sure there's someone out there that could provide us with that product, and that's farmed rabbit. You know, we sell tons of it whenever we have it on the menu, and people keep asking for it, and we can't source it. So, come on, bring it up to me. I feel not only it's important to source Scottish, or to source locally, or to source within and around the country. The larder is so rich, you know, the products are there. Why on earth would you want to go and buy them elsewhere?
What a difference a month makes. So in February we were filming between two storms, when parts of the country saw significant gales and snowfall on the ground. This last weekend we had temperatures hitting 20 degrees, and so let's hope this good weather carries on for the lambing period. We've recently reported abortions due to Schmallenberg virus in a small flock in Aberdeenshire. This flock had high barren rates and then experienced some abortions in the 2 weeks prior to when lambing was due to commence. Affected lambs had evidence of arthrogryposis, so that was when the legs were fused in a flexed position. We know that this type of pathology happens when the ewes are infected in the second month of pregnancy, and this causes damage to the brain and causes damage to the spinal cord of the fetus. Viruses similar to Schmallenberg virus tend to cycle in populations every 4 years. We had cases in Scotland in 2013 and in 2017, but we didn't see any in 2021. So it could be that as the spring progresses, we see more cases of abortion due to Schmallenberg virus. So if you do see fetuses that have these twisted, fused joints, please do get in touch with your vet. We'd be really interested to hear about it, and we can arrange for samples to be taken to see if that's the cause or not. Unfortunately, at this time of year, we do see submissions of lambs and calves that have been born dead, so stillbirths. This is a really frustrating problem to deal with, but please do take the time to involve your vet with these cases so that we can hopefully identify what's happened and make sure that we can address issues so that we don't get problems in future years. An examination, particularly if these lambs or calves are found dead, will help determine if the animal's breathed, if they've taken in colostrum, if there's any signs to suggest that lambing or calving have been slow or difficult, and this can really help inform the next steps to prevent it in the future. We've had a recent diagnosis of malignant catarrhal fever in a cow. So this is a fatal disease of cattle that's caused by a virus that's hosted by sheep. So the virus, ovine herpes virus 2, doesn't cause any disease in sheep at all. But if cattle become infected, then they tend to develop a really high temperature. They develop swollen glands, swollen lymph nodes, and inflammation. Now this inflammation often leads to discharge from the eyes or from the nose, but inflammation can happen anywhere in the body. And so if this happens, inflammation in the brain, for example, then there would be nothing to see. This time last year, we saw a few cases of poor bone mineralisation in housed cattle. So in young growing cattle or fattening cattle fed on a low calcium diet, so that would often be a cereal-based diet or a soya-based diet. If these low calcium diets aren't sufficiently supplemented with minerals, then bone strength and bone quality can be compromised. So this might be seen in cattle as them perhaps being lame or spending more time lying down. And in serious circumstances, it can lead to fractures because the bones just aren't strong enough to withstand the usual knocks. Well, I hope that this good weather holds up for the spring period. If you are lambing and calving just now, do remember that ensuring good colostrum intake is the best way to ensure the health of these lambs and calves hitting the ground. It really is true what they say, that colostrum is gold.